Bases dropped for your lunch hour, at least here in the Eastern time zone. It's time for another round of Thursdays with Niko Moreno from the Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports, joining us briefly in short order. He'll be catching up with us, and we'll do another round of red light, yellow light, green light. We'll go through the international break, go through who's missing, who it could impact, coming up for the matches this weekend. And we went through the list this morning on SDH. And so short of Atlanta United, and it was Atlanta United, and it was it Montreal? I'm trying to think of the numbers here. I know that the purple team was one of them. Atlanta's got 7. A lot of folks have 2s and 3s. LAFC's got 4. Galaxy, Minnesota was the one. Yeah, Minnesota, purple team at 7. Atlanta United with 7. And Philadelphia with 7. But they had 3 in the U20s. Then you've got Seattle with 6, and I wanted to get into that with with Niko, and Toronto with 5, 4 of them representing Canada, and the 5th one, Tomas Romero, representing El Salvador. So for Toronto FC, no Akinola, no Mark Anthony Kaye, no Larea, no Osorio, and they've got that to go into this weekend and try to sort things out. So we'll get into the week that was, we'll get into the weekend that will be, and we will we'll lay it all out for you and get you ready for everything here on your Thursday. After this, later this afternoon on the network, it will be we'll catch up with our friends from Des Moines Menace and catch up with their front office, and we'll catch up about their win over Beeman United in U.S. Open Cup, and we'll sort through that and what football means to Des Moines. So that'll be a 1v1. That'll be up later this afternoon. And then tomorrow, obviously, we'll be back at it at 9:05. And we're going to start things off a little different. Apparently, Greg Garza has to run to catch a plane. So we'll have Greg on at the beginning at 9:05. Then at 9:30, he'll sign off. And then that's when we'll start the weekend preview, weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming, probably, hopefully soon. Maybe, perhaps, possibly, maybe. So, and then hopefully Jason will be joining us in the 10 o'clock hour tomorrow to go through his observations from the week of training with Atlanta United and what it'll be like going up against Columbus Crew at lower.com field. Interesting comments picked up from Wilfred Nancy about their match against New York Red Bulls. And his thoughts going up against Red Bulls, and he won't have Cucho, he will not have Zella Ryan, he will not have Eloy Room, he will not have Milos Dejanek. So he'll have that going into that match. And I know a lot of folks were looking at juice boxes and thinking that the draw number when it comes to juice boxes might be the number that you stare at. And we'll sit there and see if that is in fact the case with all the juice boxes that are laid out with all of the absences here in the international window. So thanks for hanging out with us here on the noon hour. Like I said, we're waiting for Niko Moreno and Pulso Sports to join us here in just a sec. Obviously, we've got stuff going on right now. We got qualifiers, Euro 2024 qualifiers underway. 15 minutes to go, and on that turf, that welcome mat. I mean, that literally, it looks like a welcome mat that you might have had maybe in the 1980s at your house. That we see at Astana in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is tied in European qualifiers with 15 minutes to go against Slovenia. And it looks like Slovenia is going to have to make a substitution with 15 to go. They're tied at 1. Beginning of a very, very busy day when it comes to what's on television. We'll get into that. You've got CONCACAF Nations League. You've got a whole bunch of stuff going on in and around international duty. But it is now time to bring in this guy, Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports. And how many cups of coffee are we on? Is this number 2?
Oh, yes, sir. This is number 2. We're just getting it in.
All right. And obviously this week, it's an interesting week when we get into the juice boxes, and with all of the absences, we can get into that because Seattle's got 6, 2 in the U20s, You have Philadelphia has absences, but half of them are U20s. Purple team's got a lot of absences. Atlanta United's got a lot of absences, but the depth is there with Atlanta United too. Seattle's got 6 absences. We get into that coming up in just a little bit. But as we go back into the week that was and look at the results from last week in Major League Soccer, as we're kind of working our way through, what stuck out to you from last week that has been kind of ruminating in your brain over the last handful of days?
A lot stuck to me. First of all, happy to be here with you guys on a Thursday. Of course, my guy John, that wonderful audience that you got down there. Of course, everybody watching, excited to be here. There was a little heartbreak in terms of our juice boxes, man. I mean, I did go down and place a couple. So let's start with Cincinnati. That 3-3 draw against Chicago was very unexpected. I did not expect Chicago to have that sort of fight. I didn't think Cincinnati's defense was going to be as open as it was. Philly, of course, that was catastrophic, kind of a dramatic, weird, odd, whatever adjective you want to add to that game. VAR, looking at things 2-3 times over, Losada losing his mind. Obviously, with all the confidence and reasonably enough why he was losing his mind on the bench. So, yeah, definitely Kyoto comes out and being the hero in that one. That's interesting. DC United had more fight than I thought against New York City. That was another game that kind of caught me by surprise as well. Santi Rodriguez just being Santi Rodriguez, coming in and being an absolute force. He's going to be – that number 10 is not for show. That number 10 is what he's going to embody for the New York City FC club. And it's going to be quite a season for him to come in as late as he did and have the impact as he's had, scoring, creating opportunities, pressuring. I mean, he's just been amazing. So that's just some of the things. Houston, Hector Herrera, he might have heard all the critics that we've been sending him at Soccer Bar, and he comes out and says, hey, I'm here. I played probably the best game of the season, maybe the best game with Houston Dynamo. I scored my goal. There are some of the things that kind of stuck out.
Now, with Philadelphia, and obviously I think we've got to get into VAR here. A couple of things. Jim Curtin, who, according to Tommy Scoops, has not signed a contract extension. Contract runs out at the end of this year. Obviously, conversations are ongoing. And I know a lot of folks in Philly are sitting there going, what are you waiting for? Like Nick Meredith Carrots and Rocky. What are you waiting for? And trying to get that signed. The Jim Curtin post-match press conference after losing to Montreal, CF Montreal, hopefully impact, probably, maybe, hopefully sometime soon, probably never. You're up 2-1 in the 90th. Ofor gets the goal to tie it. You end up going to VAR. VAR doesn't see it. Victor Wanyama, of all people, goes, yo, fam. I think those are the exact words. Yo, fam. To the fourth. And it's like, dude, you missed it. And then they go back and look and see that Kai Wagner was keeping folks on side. So it eventually ends up being the right call. Just the way that we get to it created this ish storm, according to Jim Curtin, who said it was bad for the league. But I would say that, yeah, it's bad for the league, but you eventually got the right call. And for you and your defenders not to keep an eye on Romel Kyoto at 90+8 for him to get an uncontested header in the net, I think that there's more in play here. What did you think about the idea of Victor Wanyama sitting there and going, yo, fam, take another look?
I mean, I think that's savvy. And I think that's somebody that knows the game and, he's going to push the subject. Is there a chance that he was going to get completely ignored? Completely? Yes, absolutely. But he continues to bring up the subject. He creates some sort of doubt. I'm sure there's communication and they go take a second look. Did it look great? Absolutely not. There's nothing worse than having to look at the thing twice. You've already made a call. both on the field, the call, then after with the VAR, and then you're doubting that VAR call. So yes, it doesn't look great, but like you said, it comes out to be the right call. He was clearly onside. And this is another one of those situations where a coach, just like Oscar Pereja last week, kind of takes something to take his frustration out and just holds on to it. Talking about Jim Curtin, his real frustration is, like you said, not watching Romel Kyoto, probably the most dangerous guy at the time there at that moment in time. So he's probably more frustrated at the situation and the result and what happened. And he takes it out on obviously something that, yes, it didn't look great. He needs to get better, and that referee needs to just take his time and look at absolutely everything before making a call, because it does look ugly, but right call was made. Nothing happened. Move on. But good luck on that if we're talking about Jim Curtin. Yeah, you mentioned Chicago and Cincinnati. Did not anticipate that Cincinnati would be giving up all those goals to Chicago. Houston and Austin's tailspin continues here. You know, you come out of Champions League, and Derek Etienne Jr. was asked about Violette, and he said that, look, folks, y'all are sleeping on Haiti football. They're better than you thought, just because they hadn't played in all these kinds of things. But Derek Etienne waving his flag a little bit and saying, Violette was better than you were looking. Austin's tailspin continues. Yes, they were the underdog going to Houston once again, proving our deal that it's tough to win on the road in Major League Soccer, 2 out of every 7 last year. But Houston, a team that had not been scoring, gets 2 on the board, and Austin continues to struggle. I know a lot of folks are sitting there going, it's like what's the old photo with Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie with Brad Pitt where he's going, and he's got the beer in his hand, and everybody's kind of going, at Austin right now. Austin has issues. They have a lot of issues. And I mean, we knew that this was a team that was going to be codependent on what DeRussi does and what he didn't do. I felt like, and you heard me say it here, they needed a 9. They needed a Edman. They needed someone that was going to be a killer up top. They don't have that. They moved Jassy, try Ruti, because the Jassy thing just hasn't been working lately. Ruti has a chance on goal, puts it on the post. Just things are not really going well for this team. But the real problem here is midfield and the defensive back, right? I mean, center midfield was such a strong place that for Austin FC last season, Fagundes was playing lights out. Alex Ring was dominated. That center defensive mid role, fantastic. You were able to create that to be your platform, your safe zone. You were always going to be difficult to run against, to get through. That's not what we're seeing this time around. Not to mention, well, and I'm not going to go ahead and touch it again, is the defensive line is atrocious. It's terrible. So with that said, they got a new signing. Oh, well, let's see how quickly he can adapt. Now you got a little bit of something there. Let's move Alex back. Look, I have an issue with people just forgetting last season, right? I mean, Alex Ring, I get that Owen Wolf is the new shiny toy, and he's got a couple of wonderful highlights. And yes, he gives you a lot offensively. But having that veteran, having that guy that's going to just calm it all down, that's going to anchor that midfield is so key. So seeing Alex Ring as a center back is not where I want to see. I hear people say, no, but you know what? Owen Wolf gives him different things. And Johan Valencia, we need to figure out where he's at. Yeah, absolutely. You do need to figure out where Johan Valencia is at, because you paid a pretty penny for him, and he's been a bust so far. But you are dropping points week by week without putting those players that have helped you in the past where they need to be. So it's just a big problem all around when it comes to Austin FC. I think that they need help. I think that they need to kind of reestablish what they want to do, because this team looks like they have no identity, and they got pushed around a Houston team that had been awful in the first 3 games of the season. So anytime that Herrera is just walking into the box to just give you a tap in and kill the game, and nobody's watching the runner in, there's a lot of problems.
Because Conte out indefinitely, Vaisanen is out on international duty, and so you bring in Alexander Radovanovic on loan from KV Kortrijk in Belgium. And I know a lot of folks are sitting there going, okay, KV Kortrijk, I got to do my homework. 29-year-old, it's a deal that runs through the end of the fiscal year. and there's a transfer option that's attached. So played for Lens in League 1 before that, joined Kortrijk in 21. And so you got help. So we'll see how long it takes for him to integrate. He might have to parachute in with Vaisanen out on international duty. Also on the board, St. Louis City SC wins again at home.
How did I miss that? That's on me. Go ahead.
I think we all do, because I know that we're all attached to that notion of the new guy. And we're waiting, I think, for that second time through the batting order to start happening. We talked about it. We talked about it last week. We talked about it earlier this week on the morning show, where you're the guy coming up from AAA. You're hitting 360. I mean, everything. You got the pitchers with their egos. It's like, here comes the kid out of AAA. AAA Tacoma, and he's coming up, and he's ready to mash it. But the Soto Mojo is on his side first time through the batting order and through the league, and there's no book. And we're all waiting for that turn when the book finally comes out on St. Louis, and it didn't happen last week against San Jose. San Jose in like negative 9,000 degrees in City Park. St. Louis City, again, 4 for 4 on the season, really doing well for them, especially when we're kind of thinking that this system might cause some problems later in the year, especially in the summer in St. Louis. You get into those hotter climes where you really could crash, but St. Louis continues to roll, man.
Hey, I have to, tip my hat and admit that I was completely wrong about this squad, just because they've been more than just that Red Bull energy drink soccer. I mean, they are really strong in how they find space offensively. Their press is just so effective. I mean, it's not just about having players forward, but they read angles perfectly. They isolate the ball carrier very well. And Klaus has been unbelievable. I mean, this Brazilian guy that doesn't look Brazilian at all. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had no idea who he was when he first came in. I had to do my research. There was some people that were high on him, but he wasn't this amazing guy. But he's been everything. I mean, he gets a goal against San Jose where it's all heart. And yeah, it's a little bit of luck, but we're not going to touch that word ever again with this team, because it's four wins. This is historic. First, expansion thing to do it in their first year, 4 straight wins. I mean, it's been fantastic. But Klaus is kind of that guy that just sets it all together. He's so he's got this frame that's just scary. He's good on the ball. He's got a great shot. He presses well. I mean, he could have had another one where, once again, that press helps out. He gets a ball on top of the box, and he puts it in a great shot by him as well. Gets saved by the keeper. And this was a San Jose team that they had all the goods. I mean, I've been high on this San Jose team. They're a good squad. I get the Montero was in there. You got to play Thompson higher up the field, and you kind of realize how much Montero does for this San Jose team. Grayso goes out with an injury, right? So there's things going on, but no matter what, San Luis is opportunistic. They get the job done. They're more than just hustlers. I mean, they really have a little bit of finesse. Stroud's been unbelievable. Lowen is this. I don't know where they found this guy, but he just looks fantastic. So props to the scouting, props to the system, props to the coach, that you got to get everybody to buy in on what you're selling, and he's got it, man. So regardless of whether this team is going to go far in the playoffs, because for sure I think they're going to be there, great first year. My question is, does this historic start move anything that was in the plan? So, if it's San Luis, do I want to try to cash in now that I got all these early wins and maybe advance some of those moves that I was planning for the summer window? Or do I'm playing with house money, so maybe I just don't do those now? So how that process goes on is going to be interesting. But I got to tip my hat to that team.
2 more matchups I want to get into you with from last week before we get into this week coming up. Atlanta puts 5 on Portland. And, you got to give Gio Savarese credit. Some managers in this situation, big shot, Bob, will play like the ball's got cooties. Don't want it. Don't need it. I'm going to get out of here with a point and do my thing. Gio is not that kind of guy. He is going to do his thing, came in with his 3-5-2 that shocked LAFC and turned the game around there. But the speed of Atlanta United in that building puts 5 on the board. Almada goes 2-2 with one of the filthiest, McNastiest kicks that we've seen. I mean, and think about this. In 4 match weeks, there have been 2 goal of the year candidates from one dude in the first 4 match weeks. The banger at the death, and then the banger before that in the San Jose match. So technically 2.5 or 3, depending on your perspective. Plus the 32-yard, we measured it off, 32-yard free kick that put the second goal on the board. Thiago Almada is ridiculous right now. And Atlanta put 5 on Portland, who wasn't going to back down from who they were.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of had this one pretty squared away last week, right? I mean, Hospital FC, their DP out, a lot of question marks. I kind of mentioned to you that Portland was going to be pragmatic at times, but they were going to play their game. They have players that just need the ball to be at their best game, right? Mosquera, Montero, Williamson. I mean, they just need the ball, so they're going to play their game. But going back to Atlanta, which that's what we got to talk about, the protagonist, the best team in MLS in certain way right now, early with the MVP to me at this point in time, obviously. But you got to give credit to Gonzalo Pineda. And I know that I've been preaching Gonzalo since he got to Atlanta. And I know that some people are already getting tired of me talking about it and you're making excuses. No, I mean, it's the process. It's a process of what you want to do. And how well this team is performing has a lot to do with Gonzalo Pineda, the freedom that you're giving Almada, where he's getting the ball. It goes back to what Gonzalo wants to do. I mean, this is what you wanted to do with Ezequiel Barco, but you bring in Frank the Boring and Frank the Pretentious, and then things get ruined, right? So now you have a guy that knows how to use a young talent to be creative, to do everything right. The defense is getting better. It's not perfect, and you saw how upset Gonzalo was that they gave up that one goal. And I love that about him, right? I mean, you want your coach to ask for excellence, and that's what he's asking from his players. So I just have to give credit to Gonzalo. He's a guy that I admire. I think he's a great strategist, and he's working on being that player's coach as well, because that's where he wanted to kind of get better at. So little by little, his work is shining. But yes, Amada's been great. Ibarra's been great. Wiley's been fantastic. Araujo is finally becoming that guy that we all saw and felt like he could be. No longer is he, taking the wrong decision, and he's finalizing and finishing that work that he produces, because he does produce and generates. He just wasn't finishing. He's doing that now. So everything's working for Atlanta. Obviously, let's kind of reel it back a little bit. Portland is not in great shape. Portland gave a lot of space. Portland started with a goal that got sent back that kind of got the team a little bit off their game as well. So I'm just saying, Atlanta's fantastic, yes, but let's hold off and not start hitting the alarms and the parade, start setting it up. Where is it going to be? Let's not do that just yet, but Atlanta looks great.
And then goalless draw to start the weekend off with your Sounders that you cover on a daily basis and LAFC. What did you take away from that one?
That was a tough game. I mean, it was a chess match. I mean, you talked about it right here as well. That was going to be a tough game to really call, because you had an LAFC that had some miles on them, that were not going to come here and just get smacked, because that's just not LAFC at all. They rotated. They had some good play. I thought Seattle was the protagonist in this one. I thought they played through the press incredibly. They only gave 2 turnovers throughout the whole game, which is impressive looking at what LAFC wanted to do and how high that top of that 4-4-3 was pressing. I thought it was impressive the way Seattle was able to kind of gain control and push that press off. Obviously, they did their work by isolating Nicolas Odero, not allowed him to do much. Seattle did that as well with Carlos Vela. So it was a bit of a chess match. Seattle was just a little bit unlucky in the front end, right? They got the ball there. They just weren't finishing. Rusnak has 3 one where I don't know why he hits it first time, and I don't know where that ball goes. There's the post. I thought he could have done a little bit better at that in that one. And then he gets another one in the box that I thought he should have put away. He makes a pass on it. So I just thought Seattle did well, but they need to get those goals going. Because if you're not scoring, you're not winning games. And if you spend all your goals in your first two games against Colorado and Real Salt Lake, then that's an issue. Brian Smetzer talked about it this week. We know it. We understand. We started with a lot of goals. Now we ran out. We're trying to fix it. This week was all about offensive movement, getting things right. But obviously going into this one, no Hebert, no Raul Ruiz. So we'll see what that happens. But I thought it was a great game. A lot of people thought it was boring and all this. I like the chess matches at times when there's purpose with the ball. And I thought there was part of that. There's that rivalry that I've been telling you about that nobody wants to buy in on me on. You saw Aaron Long kind of touches the ball with Stephen Fry, hands on it. Nuhu goes crazy. There's a big fight. So, I like the rivalry going on.
It's almost like Aaron Long and Stephen Fry was like the older brother, younger brother kind of thing. It's like, Stop touching me, stop touching me, stop. He's touching me.
That's what it was.
He's touching me. He's touching me. Stop it. He's touching me. Mom, he's touching me. One of those. All right, let's get into the week that will be. And obviously a lot of absences. Atlanta has 7. Minnesota has 7. Purple team has 6 or 7. They have 7. Seattle has 6. 2 are U20, including Obed Vargas. And Toronto has 5, I believe, 4 heading to Canadian national team duty. Mark Anthony K, Io Akinola, and such. The league is playing through it. We got into it on the morning show this morning. Because if it was a morning show this afternoon, that'd be kind of problematic. But on the morning show, we were talking about basically how you're in this new relationship. And I said it was like, think of it like a TV program, your favorite TV program in its first season. Right now, Major League Soccer is in their first year in a new television deal with Apple TV Plus and Season Pass. And they have all of these television episodes that come out, for the most part, on Saturdays, most of them Saturday night. You're 4 weeks in to this first season of this television show, and you can't be like, say, Friends in season number 1, where, Rachel comes in the wedding dress and she leaves Barry at the altar and she's learning how to be a waitress at Central Perk, and everybody's hanging around, and Chandler and Joey are buddies, and you're seeing Joey trying to be an actor, and you're trying to see Monica be a chef, and you're trying to see Ross, who's in love with Rachel, but he doesn't know how to move forward. You can't go 4 weeks into season 1 with all of that development and Phoebe on the outside trying to figure out her music, and then you take a break from a popular thing. You can't do that. So I understand the idea of having to play through here, and there are a lot of teams that are going to be playing shorthanded to varying degrees, but it tests your depth, and I think it eventually helps you, especially with nations, with nations and leagues and Open Cup and all these different competitions. It can help you, but I know that there's a shock to the system for a lot of folks, especially in Seattle, with a matchup this weekend where you're on the road at Sporting Kansas City. It's a tough environment being shorthanded.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, kudos on the Friends analogy. Love that. Don't forget my guy Gunter. But yeah, absolutely. I get it. But we did talk about this in Soccer Bar this week. I mean, the problem is the schedule is just full, right? You got Nations Cup that you're already taking Leagues Cup, which you're already taking a break for. You have obviously Open Cup. There's barely any room anywhere, and the teams get to decide on, right? Where do you want to do this, right? Because we're gonna have to play through a break. Which one is it? You want to go early in the season because you have the most ability to regain points or whatever. You could maybe play a really boring soccer, but I get what you're saying though, in terms of that, because a lot of that quality is going to go out the window this week when you get a lot of these younger players coming in where, Seattle's going to have to play with Kellen Rowe, probably a left back. I mean, all of those things are going to affect quality. But at the end of the day, teams get to decide when this happens, and I thought it's appropriate to have it rather early in the season than later on. So it's part of the things with MLS and things that need to get better in the future, because I'm pretty sure we're the only league or one of that are playing through this break. So we'll see how that plays out. But it also creates a lot of opportunities for younger players that are going to have to show up. It's going to provide the opportunity for guys that maybe need to regain some points and take advantage of this break. So, it's part of having a depth, part of having a team that can interchange different things. So I get what you're saying, but it's kind of just part of what happens in MLS.
Running down the gauntlet here as we play cliffhanger. Portland and LAG. Portland's a favorite at home going up against LAG at a plus 129. No Joveljic, no Chicharito as far as I can tell from everything that I've been able to see when it comes to LAG. So you're missing folks there. And
yeah, that's a good game, though. I'm going to watch that. We just talked about Gio. He's going to stay true to what he does. LA Galaxy is the mess, and you know that. I know that. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen with Raheem Edward. Once the outage it's fully on. I mean, this is a guy that's a prospect, right, for LAG. I think that you just push him up a line because he deserves to be there. Edwards has been fantastic for this team for a very long time. But obviously, an LA Galaxy team that's going to struggle. What is Ricky going to do in this one? Portland, can they get some soldiers back from out of duty? They're hurt, they're beat up. Hopefully you can patch them up, get him to, because they need these points, right? They've only got three points out of the season so far. They're gonna want to add some more, so this could be the chance for them to do so against the LA Galaxy team that's full of question marks. So I'm gonna watch this one. I think it's an interesting one. I might even put some money on the over in goals in this one, which you might not think that's going to be the case because of the injuries, because the LA Galaxy have not been able to do much. But I think Portland might catch this one. They might win this one.
2.5 is a minus 118 in the composite. 3.5 is a plus 204. 4.5 is a plus 5.
Oh, that's too much. Yeah, no. So, the 3. I like the 3.
Okay, so 3.5 is what you're looking at with Portland and LAG when it comes to over under. Charlotte's hosting Red Bull. Charlotte's favored at home at a plus 160. Crew hosting Atlanta United. Crew is favored at a plus 152. No Cucho, no Dejanek, no Eloy Room, and who is the fourth one that I can't remember that always slips my mind? Zelarayan.
Yeah. Well, let me just touch up on Charlotte real quick. It's crazy what happens when you simplify the game and you don't try to use a chair as a bed. I mean, just play with what you have, man. Just simplify the game, right? Niko goes back to the midfield. Now you have real wingers that play winger, and hey, we got a little bit of width, and we're able to bring in the ball. And Copetti plays the best game of the season. Hooray! Wonderful. Who would have thought that if you play with fullbacks at fullbacks and midfielders at midfielders and wingers at wingers, things are going to work. So, I got to give my respects to Latanzio for figuring it out finally. Maybe he watches the show. Maybe he's heard Soccer Bar and me complaining about it. I'm kidding. I know he doesn't, but great. I'll just wanted to put that out there because I think this team should be doing better than they are. Now, go back to this one. Yes, a lot of absences, obviously. Going to be interesting how he plays out. I really do think that Orlando missing Gallese is huge. I mean, Gallese is the seatbelt and the airbag and everything for Orlando City in this one. So obviously a lot of absences also in the midfield, but I think Philadelphia is better equipped to just handle things because of the structure, because of the way they play, and because of the depth. I'll be watching this one as well.
Yep. Other 7:30s, DC hosting New England, Inter Miami hosting Chicago, and that gets us to the 8:30s. Austin hosting Colorado. Austin, a big favorite. Boy, do they need a win. Houston,
they both need a win. Yeah, they both need a win.
And you don't have Jack Price anymore if you're Colorado. Gone for the year.
That's such a big loss for that team. I mean, he's the heart there. He's a guy that's just important on the field, on leadership, on everything. No Rubio still. No Yappy because he's gone. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. Stick Cabral up there, hopefully. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're going to have to figure something out because it just doesn't look good for Colorado. And Austin needs to take care of business, man. They need to figure out what's going on, try to get a W somehow because that momentum is just going downhill. I hear fans getting anxious and starting to get really upset about the whole thing. So, hey, if you have a Colorado team that hasn't won, that has barely something you can call an offense, you got to get that win.
No doubt. Houston hosting NYC. Houston favored in Texas. Minnesota United, with all their absences, favored at home against Vancouver.
What are the numbers on Houston?
Houston is a plus 152 to win. NYC is a plus 175, and then composite, your draw is a plus 235.
Ooh, I don't see a draw. Well, I'm gonna have to look at that one. But go ahead. Yeah, I like New York in that one though.
Yep. Other 8:30 Eastern. Nashville hosting Cincinnati. This one's turning into a sneaky rivalry. It really is. Nashville a minus 106 at Geodis. FC Cincinnati a plus 300 on the road. No Angulo, no Moreno. Nashville on the flip side. It's not missing anybody. Everybody's there for Nashville, man. I've got to go with Nashville at home. I really do.
Hey, that's the key word, at home, right? I mean, that's where they shine. That's where they play their best. I think Junior Moreno has been. I mean, he's not only a part of that midfield that makes him so solid, but that's the leading scorer right now. I mean, he's completely taking everybody by surprise. I know he got me by surprise. So that's a big missing component. I think it'll be a good one, but Cincinnati has a hard time whenever teams, I don't want to say bunker down, but they just play compact in between the lines. They don't allow you to play. I think that's what Nashville's going to do. And they are one of those sneaky guys. Rusnak is starting to, Hani Mukhtar. I'm thinking Seattle. Hani Mukhtar finally getting some minutes back, right? And he's looking better. He's that team completely. I really do think that this is going to be one where he's going to shine, maybe get a brace in this one. So, yeah, I like Nashville on this one as well.
All right, then we got 3 more to go. St. Louis City is on the road at Rio Tinto taking on RSL. LAFC hosting FC Dallas, and San Jose hosting Toronto FC on the road. FC Dallas, a big dog, north of plus 440. All those 3 are favorites. RSL at a minus 109, LAFC at a minus 169, San Jose at a minus 120.
Yeah, I like those last 2. LAFC, Dennis Bouanga has been everything. Bouanga has been everything for this team, right? I mean, he's their dangerous player. He's the one that stretches out defenses. He's been their goal scorer in many a times. The Ecuadorians, big losses there with Palacios and Master Sifu. So definitely a LAFC team that's going to have to push that depth and see how it's going to really play out. But I think whenever you get that many impactful players, it's difficult to hold on against the Dallas team that, yes, they've been, for me, hard to watch at times because they're so up and down. They're my choice for the best team in the West. So I think they might show up in this one. I'll probably put some of the juice boxes in Dallas for this game. I really do think that they're in for a big win, and this one might be it. Give LAFC their first loss of the season. I like that one. Toronto on the other side, they are probably one of the most affected by the international break because you finally getting a little something, right? You finally feel like you got to win, and the guys that know how to play, Osorio, Bernadeschi, and Larrea start to feel themselves, and now a bunch of guys out. You might lose some of that momentum in when you needed it most against the San Jose team that just got completely smacked by San Luis City. So they got something to prove. Montero back in this one. Obviously no Trauco, but I feel like that's somewhere where they can obviously slot somebody in. But I like both of these games. I like San Jose and I like FC Dallas.
All right, what's going on? Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports.
Pulso Sports, we're going to obviously be heading down to Starfire here in a second. The team is going to practice and fly out to Sporting Kansas City. A lot of young players that are going to be part of this squad in certain sense. Ethan Double Air, I think, is going to be one to really watch. I believe he's going to be started at right back. So I'm going to go in there, try to see if I can get an interview with Ethan Double Air about potentially, obviously he's not going to say, yes, I'm starting, here's the lineup. But, we're going to talk to him about an opportunity where he's going to have to do a lot, because Alex Roldan has been such an important piece for the Sounders team, getting forward, giving the team width, bringing services in. So we're going to talk to, hopefully, Ethan Double Air. So check that out. Soccer Bar at 1 p.m. So in 3 hours or so, 1 p.m. Pacific, obviously. So check that out. Everything Spanish. We're going to talk about Charlotte FC in their first win. We're going to talk about Sounders, all the things that we just talked about in Spanish. So check that out.
What he said, El Rolo NW, he's got to go to Starfire. So we're going to let him get lunch. He's going to get late brunch. He's going to do it on the car on the way to Starfire. He's going to get all caught up in everything Western Conference. We'll do it again next week.
Hey, you the man, my guy.
He's Niko. I'm John. Peace.